Hello and welcome everyone to today's webinar on building chatbots that help you generate qualified leads. So my name is Sebastian Vitalez and I'll take care of you for today. So first things first, in case you have any issues with your audio, it is recommended that you connect directly with the computer audio instead of dialing in, as we've noticed in the past there were some issues when people were dialing in. And if that still doesn't help, then possibly you could just restart the GoToWebinar. That might do the trick. And if that was to fail or you have to drop out early, we are recording this session. So we will be definitely sharing a link to a YouTube recording from this session. So if there's anything that you'd want to rewatch and see again, or if you, for example, can't finish the session, we'll definitely be sharing links to this. So yeah. So my name is Sebastian Vitalez, and I'm a senior developer advocate working at Progress. I've been involved with native chat for quite a few years, and I'm really passionate about it. And probably if you ever met me face to face, like we could talk about it for hours because I absolutely love the product. So today's agenda is as follows. First, my colleague Jonathan is going to take you around the lead generation, the past and the future. Then we'll be also talking about how you can use chatbots to qualify leads and what sort of things are possible. Then I'll take over again, and then I will talk about in general what the lead generation chatbots are, why would you want to use them, and how you could use them. Then I'll introduce Native Chat, which is our chatbot engine. So I'll talk to you a little bit about the history of Native Chat itself. And also I will do a live coding demo. So probably in about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, I will show you how to build a chatbot that can do some cool stuff, which is the demo part, of course. And then I'm also going to talk to you about our pilot program, which is designed to get any organization to get started with Native Chat, where we actually dedicate our time and we work with you side by side on like a specified set of requirements so that it could help you deploy such chatbot. And then feel free to ask any questions as we go. So we might be able to answer them during the webinar, but definitely we'll be answering questions at the end. So any good questions that we see towards the end of the session, we'll have a slot and we could spend 5 minutes answering questions. We can go through them for half an hour, depending on however many questions you all have. Okay, so without any further ado, I am going to pass on to my colleague Jonathan, who is a developer advocate at Progress, and he will give you a quick introduction. Over to you, Jonathan.
Well, thank you, Sebastian. Let me quickly get share my screen. All right. So hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Over the next couple of minutes, I'm going to spend a few minutes and talk about the evolution of the marketing journey and lead generation specifically. So let's get started and see how we have been collecting leads and what are the common issues that we have been noticing along the way. So back in the 90s, when marketers didn't really use a lot of technology, they used things like billboards, flyers, TV ads to reach the eyes and hearts of their customers. But with the dot-com boom, which came somewhere in the early 2000s, and with most of the businesses noticing the power of the internet, everyone started moving online, and so did the businesses. In fact, during that time, we had a lot of businesses coming up with websites, which then became mobile apps and then went on to become web apps. Fast forward a couple more years, and then it was the trend of social media. Customers started moving and using platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the businesses had to keep up and migrate to these platforms to reach customers. So in short, if you have noticed anything across this decades of time, it's a simple message. With the shift in customer attitude, marketers have to find ways, and basically sometimes even have to innovate to find new ways to reach their prospective customers. So every time you think about a new product launch, or if there is something new that the organization wants to share, the first thing that you will obviously notice is a dedicated landing page for it. And let's not forget the thousands of marketing dollars spent on paid ads. But all of these things eventually converge into one thing, which is a form. Now, simple as that may seem, think about having to fill a form 10 times from 10 different websites for 10 different things. Quickly, that suddenly becomes very, very irritating. So the big question here is it really working? We spoke to a couple of sales representatives and asked their thoughts on this issue. And they had a couple of very interesting insights to share with us. So the first thing that they told us was the number of forms that they received it resulted in a lot of fake details. Things like fake email addresses, fake contact numbers, and all of this, they had to take out the time, write out that email, or make that call only to find out that it was a fake detail. This resulted in a lot of wasted bandwidth and resources in the sales department. The second problem that was visible was irrelevant prospects, people who did not have the buying power or maybe the authority to make the purchase, filling out details. Once again, the sales representative still had to reach out and only to realize that it won't work. So once again, wasted time, wasted effort. The third one is a little more interesting, and that is cold leads, because people have already forgotten about the product. And to back this, Harvard Business Review published a study from a sales technology company that found that if a sales team waited longer than just 5 minutes to follow up with a person who had recently completed a web form, their ability to connect with the prospect decreased by a factor of 10. I'm going to pause for a second for that to sink in. Just 5 minutes. And we all know that for any business in current age, it is humanly not possible to have the resources and allocate the bandwidth for someone to respond so quickly. And yet, here we are. So what is the solution to this? Chatbots? Really? Okay, so let me quickly tell you a couple of things how chatbots can actually help you in this entire journey of lead generation. Let's start with the purpose why chatbots came into existence. So if you look back a couple of years, you would realize chatbots were primarily aimed at automating repetitive and redundant tasks. For example, answering questions. You do not want to put an executive just to keep answering the same questions, which is why it was automated using a chatbot. But seeing the power and the capabilities of the chatbot, businesses quickly started to experiment, and quickly there were businesses which automated the entire lead capturing, assessment, as well as scoring leads, right up to qualifying a lead using a chatbot. All of this while doing the regular tasks of answering questions and providing solutions. So this kind of helped businesses to cut down on the manual efforts that were otherwise required. An interesting insight from Oracle's indicates that 52% customers expect a business to be open 24/7. Unfortunately, again, this is not humanly possible. But let's think about it. I'm sure, like me, you have woken up in the middle of the night, stuck on something, and wished that there was some way that a business could respond to a query or help you figure out what's making the thing stuck. And that's exactly where chatbots can help. Unlike humans, chatbots can work 24/7, which means they are available for the customer at any hour of the day, be it in the daytime or be it in the middle of the night. And this in turn leads to a better customer experience, which then comes back to the business in terms of additional brownie points. The increasing number of active users compared to other social apps have quickly been showing that chat is becoming the new social. And it's not surprising considering the entire shift in culture that we are seeing. Initially, we had the whole call the guy kind of mindset, whereas now we have moved to a more of a self-serve mindset wherein the customer wants to figure out the problem and solve it all by himself with the hope of trying to minimize human interaction. And it's no surprise that this has been primarily fueled by the smartphone rise and the rise of the internet. And if you really think about it, almost all humans would be more comfortable talking to a robot than another human. Because after all, a robot cannot judge you for the queries and the questions that you ask. Businesses always want to stay relevant. And a study by Forbes indicates that 80% of businesses are expected to have chatbots by the year 2023. And it's no surprise that businesses with chatbots noticed higher number of queries compared to those without. And it's obviously going to be plain common sense that if you have more number of queries, your conversion rates are definitely going to be higher. One interesting thing that chatbots add to the entire conversation is the ability to personalize. With cutting edge technology like AI, ML, NLP, chatbots are now able to understand the sentiments and the intent posed by the user and respond accordingly, thereby sharing that feeling of empathy. This helps establish a near human rapport with the user. And this again provides that great customer experience that all businesses want to. Another interesting thing that chatbots really take the pain out of is integrating with other systems in the background. This could be simple things like your marketing tools like Marketo, Pardot, or even Salesforce. And this provides a lot of data based on the usage and activity of the user. At the same time, chatbots can also provide hooks to your users. For example, content that can help them make informed decisions, or even coupons and discount codes, which would entice them to make that purchase. All of this eventually helps reduce the bounce rate. If you're still thinking if there really is ROI on deploying a chatbot for your business, well, Gartner would tell you that chatbots can save up to 30% in customer relation costs. This includes both your sales as well as support. And just in terms of absolute numbers, this is close to $8 billion annually by the year 2022. So, with that in mind, let's see how we can use a chatbot to qualify your lead. A chatbot can primarily help you in two major ways. The first being to segment your leads, and the other one to nurture your leads. A chatbot can help you understand your audience by asking questions which identify their interest, understand their requirements, and also judge their authority and buying power. Using all the applications in the background, the chatbot can enrich the data that you already have on the visitor and personalize content based on his activity. Finally, the chatbot can also prioritize based on the score that the user has within marketing systems. Coming to nurturing of the lead, a chatbot can schedule appointments by syncing with your sales representative's calendar and finding available slots and offering those to the user. If the user wants to talk to the sales representative right away, the chatbot can seamlessly transition to a live chat. It also helps make decisions based on the content and resources provided. Lastly, chatbots also help build and strengthen customer relations. All of this adds a human touch to your chatbot. So, if you think about it, in the long run, a chatbot provides you improved lead quality, which means your sales representatives can focus on lesser number of leads, but knowing that they have a higher potential to convert, they would definitely have a shorter average lead to sale time, which means your sales representatives can meet their targets and KPIs even faster. And imagine doing all of this at scale. That's something only a chatbot can help you achieve. So next, Sebastian is going to talk about some of the other things about chatbots, and then he'll even show you how to build one to help you generate leads. Over to you, Sebastian.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. That was pretty good. So I am just going to quickly go back to sharing my screen. Should be able to see, oops, should see my presentation now. Okay, cool. Yeah, that was pretty good intro. So I plan to take it a step further. So just to recap, because there's quite a few things that Jonathan was touching on just a moment ago, are what are the benefits of chatbots? So regardless whether you use chatbots for lead generations or not, chatbots are pretty good because there are no queues whenever you want to interact with one, because they can work 24/7. They can handle multiple users at the same time as well, which is pretty awesome, because that means that they can scale. The speed of communication of chatbots is also pretty impressive, because they can handle repetitive tasks really well, because once they learn how to respond to a certain set of queries, they'll keep doing that over and over again. They can also integrate directly with all the APIs and third-party systems, and as a result, display available options and the things that the users could potentially ask for, and again, speed up the conversation along. And as a result, you get happy users, which is pretty great. But now let's have a look at the chatbots specifically that are used for lead generation. So a lead generation bots are chatbots that are designed to identify potential customers. They initiate their interest in products or services offered by the business, and or cultivate the relationship with the prospect. Such bots use a conversational approach to marketing, collecting client information and offering business or product information in return. So overall, lead generation chatbots specifically, they have their own set of benefits as well. They're really good at connecting the audience because they can get to understand them, even educate them on the available options, and they build trust. And one of the reasons why chatbots can build trust is because they will always provide the same type of answers. They will never be providing misleading answers, or they will never respond to the same question providing two completely different answers. They will always be very consistent. Chatbots can also raise the quality of the leads, and that means basically that they can filter and qualify your chatbots. So by filtering, that means that they could maybe even discard certain leads that they're not really within the area that you might be interested. And if one qualifies for a specific, if one person qualifies as a lead, then they could also put them in a specific buckets to send it to the right people. They can categorize them depending on the product or maybe even the size of the company, and even integrate with third-party systems to provide additional information on that lead. And they can improve the lead generation process overall because they give you the focus, like the stuff behind all the leads, instead of handling, let's say, thousands of potential connections. They could be maybe focused on those narrowed down to 100. And in this case, your team can focus specifically on those that are identified as having higher potential. There's also one point of contact, because the chatbot will most likely send each lead to the right person, as opposed to first one person trying to qualify it and then another person actually that should be dealing with it getting there. So it's straight away to the right person. And obviously, this whole thing saves us a lot of time. And how that's done? So one of the things that chatbots offer and that is very appealing are tailored experiences. So there's a little bit of a problem with the standard lead generation pages or the landing pages. So usually the the usual conversation process on many websites is the same. There's typically a CTA button or a generic looking form asking for the visitor's name, email address, phone number, and maybe a handful of other details. Well, it is no secret that forms aren't exactly exciting, and let's face it, neither is the process of filling them out. Generic conversion experiences aren't just boring, they're also ineffective. In fact, brands that fail to give a human touch to their virtual presence or provide any kind of memorable experience are very likely to drive people away from their websites. We've all been there, but we can do something about that. So conversation interfaces can really prevent that. Imagine landing on a website and a chatbot is there to welcome you. Having somebody waiting for you can be having somebody waiting for you to answer any type of questions you might have can be really compelling. Without even knowing how users, users often find themselves slipping down the conversational funnel, learning just the information that they need without having to look for them. The bot brings up all the answers and requests, but nothing more and nothing less. And that means that those users get exactly the experience that they're coming for. So why does this work? Well, this works precisely and beats a lot of old generation techniques because when a visitor on your website indicates that they're interested in trying your product or a solution, a chatbot can take over and help. Not only it will collect visitors' data, but also assess which product or solution is best suited for their prospective customers. This way, we're all able to respond with appropriate content or steps and a personalized journey for each and every lead that shows interest. This is really simple and very effective. Chatbot gives us the luxury of being confident that each prospective user is getting an experience that's personalized to them with no risk of a generic form driving them away. Chatbots can also bring increased engagement. And this is not an easy deed in today's bleak attention economy. Decorating your lead generation website or landing page with long walls of text is not the best way to accomplish this. The text can be helpful, sure, but most people find information-based pages on a brand's website a little overwhelming. And often that can be quite off-putting. So no matter how well you write all your content and how helpful your pages might be, if there's too much for the person to find the right information, they might get discouraged and move away. So Instead of expecting visitors to read paragraph upon paragraph of text, skimming to find the details that are relevant to them, you can transform this experience and use a chatbot to deliver the relevant data to the prospects through a simple conversational interchange. So you could train your chatbot with all the key information that is spread across multiple pages and complex resources, and let the chatbot provide a tailored journey as any shop assistant or basically a person in face-to-face interaction would do in a real world. Hence, the customer engages instead of searching endlessly for the right answers, just like in this demo where we could want to ask to rent a car, we can provide the location, we could say when we want a car, and then we could even select which car that is most appealing to us, provide our email address, and then as a result get a quote, and then go on and book it. And by following this kind of form, the chatbot can actually guide us through this whole conversation to achieve this goal in a conversational kind of manner, which is really nice. So with this approach, you can transform researching your brand from a tedious task to an enjoyable experience, one that your targeted audiences are likely to remember. Next up, I want to talk about the live agent handover. So this is a live agent is one where you could actually have a real person also answering the questions as part of the process. So contrary to popular belief, chatbots are not intended to replace us human employees, well, at least not completely. So to be honest, chatbots are most effective when used as a touch point along the customer journey, with the main goal of helping the sales and support teams to get in touch with prospects and customers more quickly and efficiently. So we could even integrate your human team into your chatbot lead generation strategy and have a chatbot handover conversation that go out of its depth. So for example, you could replace a lead generating form with a chatbot. Then that chatbot can ask relevant questions, identify complex customer issues, and flag high quality leads. Just like in this conversation, when somebody wants to contact this Acme delivery service, and then they can go like, well, I want to move houses. The chatbot, of course, can help us. We want to go to Denmark. Probably we'll need about a medium lorry. We want to go next week, Friday. So that's pretty soon. And in this case, the chatbot goes like, that might be a bit too soon for me to handle it because I cannot 100% guarantee that we can get you the car. And in this moment, it can go on and then hand over this very conversation to a real person. So once the lead or customer fulfills the parameters, the bot will really just take this person and promptly transfer it over. And not only a human agent to the human agent, but the right human agent, avoiding chain handoff from person to person, which is really cool because this customer goes straight to the right person that they really need to be, and then they can follow up on the same conversation. So in this case, we have Tom in here, and he already knows that our customer wants to move to Denmark, and then he can propose available options and then ask whether that would work or not. And then automatically the customer or this lead could be really happy about the solution, then just ask like, how much would that cost? And then the conversation carries on. So this system lowers customer frustration because instead of being from one person to another, having to explain the situation over and over again, they always go to the right person, and the whole process as well a lot quicker for them, and it's quicker for us, and it's a win-win situation. So let's have a very quick look at which kind of scenarios we could potentially use chatbots when it comes to lead generation. So the first one is we could replace our sales contact forms, which basically every company has one on the website. We could have a chatbot which describes various offerings from the company. We could provide product recommendations. So have an e-commerce website that can use a chatbot to recommend products, or maybe even have a chatbot that can handle an early quote generation. So a chatbot can automate the whole process of generating a quote. All right, so that's basically the overview of lead generation chatbots and like how chatbots in general can help out. But I want to give you a little history in terms of how we arrived in the chatbot space and why am I speaking here. And all of it began with a meeting room, right? So a few years back, we had a hackathon at Progress where we had a team. Basically, the whole idea was that there was 48 hours, we had to build something cool. And we had a team that wanted to build a chatbot from scratch using the conventional methods. And the whole idea was that the chatbot was supposed to help you book a meeting room. And the idea was pretty straightforward. Like, you choose which country you want to go to, which office specifically, do you need any video equipment, who has to be in this session, and maybe have additional options for bringing snacks or something else. So we're all really excited about it and ready to build. And we arrived like on the day when the hackathon starts, and we started with the first design. So this is a logical design of how a conversation like that would go. And we then realized that maybe the task would be a little bit bigger than we anticipated, or at least with the traditional ways of us, like writing standard programs. And basically the whole hackathon went like this, where we go like, oh my God, this task is a little bit bigger. This is not gonna go well. This is not working. And as a result, 48 hours later, we literally just delivered 10% of what we wanted. And we kind of looked at it later on and we thought like, well, failure is only a failure when you don't deliver on something and you don't learn anything about it, right? And our learning basically was that perhaps the conventional ways of building chatbots, like if-else statements and the loops, wasn't the best approach. And as a result, we came up with this idea, which today we are calling Native Chat, which is an AI-powered platform for building chatbots. But the most important thing, in my opinion, about Native Chat itself is its declarative approach to programming. So the whole idea is that instead of telling the chatbot how to do something, you are actually telling it what is it that you want to get from the users, or what sort of information to get in order to complete a specific task. And to build chatbots with Native Chat, we decided to use JSON. So this is like a language that is very, very well suited to declaring and describing your intent. So here's one example. Let's say we want to have a conversation in which there is a step that we want to ask a question of the user, okay? Next, we say, well, we are going to ask the user for a country, and the possible values are France, Germany, Italy, and Poland. Next, we can provide a message prompt. So in this case, when this question comes up, we will ask the user, which country are you traveling to? And then finally, there's this display type quick reply, which basically means that the chatbot should display all the available options to the user as a bunch of buttons. And with this little code, we could already create a conversation like this, where you could say, hey, I want to order a car, and the chat will provide us with the list of available values. We can choose Italy, and then we can move on to the next step. And this is really powerful and really cool, because it took us just a few bits of code and it was very straightforward. The other really important thing about Native Chat is that with one code, you can actually deploy your chatbot to multiple platforms. So we have support for web-based chat platforms. So if you have a website and you would like a chatbot in there, we could provide you with one, and the interface would look pretty much like this, and you could have a whole conversation that allows your users, or like in this case, a student, to go and enroll to a course and then view their modules. Another set of chatbots that you could also want, or the platforms, you may want to deploy your chatbot to WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, straight SMS messages, or even go to Viber. So as an example, you could have one where maybe you want to order a taxi. And in this case, you could even use the built-in functionality from WhatsApp, where you could provide specific location. We could get the address from that and then send a taxi to that location, which is pretty awesome. And obviously, we also have voice-based chatbots. So for example, we have support for Amazon Alexa. And here's an example of one conversation where we literally talk to a chatbot. Okay, and that's basically chatbot that was able through Alexa to query in the backend the amounts of minutes and the data and the balance that I had, and was able to respond. So, okay, let me show you actually how to build a chatbot from scratch. Well, or at least based on an existing project that I have. So I have this project over here where I call it Acme Services, and I already have one conversation that allows me to book a demo, but I don't want to start there just yet. So what I want to do first is go into training, and we could first off teach our chatbot to answer some questions. So maybe I call it some questions. Create category. Right, no dashes or spaces. And so the easiest thing that we could do to train a chatbot is to teach a chatbot to handle like straight questions and answers, right? So for example, you could have a question like, do you have trial accounts, right? So I could say, do you have trial accounts, or do you offer trial products, let's say. Then we have to give it like a group name, so trial question, and the answer could be something like, yes, you can create a free 30-day trial. And just like that, we train our chatbot to answer this kind of questions. We could add another one. We could say another one, what offices do you have, or in what or countries do you have, well, in what countries are you? Let's say this. And maybe I can say office location. Cool. And the answer could be something like, we have offices in the US and the UK and let's say France. And this is it. That's basically how we train chatbots to answer questions. So maybe let's try that. What offices do you have? Maybe I had this page open too long. Let's try again. What offices do you have? Yeah, it doesn't have to be exactly the same. And the chatbot responds with that answer. Do you have trial accounts? Doesn't have to be exactly perfect. And we could say like, yes, you can create a free 30-day trial. So just like that, we can train chatbots to answer straightforward questions and then provide answers. Okay. Another thing that we could potentially do is create a conversation that allows the person to kind of like contact us to ask for us to reach back. So basically replacing a form like this, where instead of contacting sales, which takes, let's say, your email address, your name, your company, or even the country, or maybe even the product that you are interested, we could create a chatbot that can do something like that. So maybe I can make it a bit bigger. So this is pretty straightforward. So I can do and say, I want to create a conversation, and I will call this conversation Contact Us. Okay. And just to test it, I will do like add a step message that will just say, hello from Contact Us. So one of the first things that we have to do is train the chatbot when to trigger this conversation. So again, from the training, we have conversation triggers, and I can do contact us, and I want to say contact us as one of the triggers, maybe talk to sales, call me or email me back, something like that. So any of those, like I say, talk to sales, should respond with that one message that we had. Okay, so let's do something different. So obviously we don't want to just display that message, but perhaps we should have a question and we'll ask the person for the name. So this is of type text. And we could say, what is your name? And if I say this, contact us, the chat will ask, what is your name? Okay, perfect. So I can say Sebastian and nothing will happen because we don't have any more steps. All right, next thing that we should probably do is ask the person for their email. So let's grab it as text for now. And I can ask, what is your email address? And the thing is that if I don't do anything about it, like the person could basically provide any type of text and that's not gonna work well. So what we could do is add a reaction validation and we could do validate email. So what I wanna do is say this doesn't look like an email. So whenever we get the response from the user, we will basically verify whether this looks like an email or not. So, okay, let's try that. So, hi, we actually have some buttons already built in. What's your name? Seba, what's my email address? So, hello there. And that's gonna complain. So, hello at me. Nope. So I can say Sebastian at gmail.com. And the chatbot will be happy with this. So this very basic code, we are already able to validate the input. There's although there's one problem. So when we validate the user, I can't say something like that. My email is seba@gmail.com because we are using like a regular expression validation on the whole text. So we need to do something for the chatbot to understand which part in here is an actual email and then maybe try to validate that. So this is where we get into entities. So entities is a way for us to train the chatbot to extract individual information from sentences and grab some pieces. So for example, we could train the chatbot to understand when it sees an email and then say that that is an email. So I could say, all right, I want an email and that's going to use a regular expression. And this is my regular expression over here. And now I can create that. So in understanding, I can already test it and say something like seba@email.com. And you can see that match that. So I can say my email is seba@email.com. And you could see that it actually identified that this is my email specifically. So this is pretty cool. What else can I do? So as part of the form, we should probably, or as part of the whole chatbot conversation, we should know about the products. So this is going to be a keyword type. So we can either provide the list of products statically or dynamically. So statically is, and so I'm gonna do it where we can hard code those products manually. So I can say, well, okay, we have Kendo UI. What else? We have native chat. Okay. We also have Sitefinity. And we also have Fiddler, right? So this will be for products. So whenever somebody says Fiddler is fun in native chat, the case is not important, you could see that Fiddler and native chat have been recognized as products, which is pretty cool. And one more entity that I want to train the chatbot on so that you will be able to extract it from sentences, will be a country. So, and I want to, instead of editing all the countries, I want to learn it directly from this little API. See, when I query this API, basically I will be getting names and there's also a native name somewhere in here, native name here. So even like displays the name in the local language. So we could potentially train our chatbot to learn those. Okay, so we have the request, and now I'm saying that the chatbot, by using this double handlebar, it should train and remember all the name values and also potentially a native name. So if either one or the other is used, the chatbot should recognize this as a specific country. So right now the chatbot is pulling all that data, and it learned all those countries. So I can say France is fun, so is Denmark. And you can see France and Denmark have been recognized, which is pretty cool. Could check Austria, so you can see these are the dynamic synonyms. So these are the synonyms that use the native name, and that also recognize and automatically assigns it to Austria, which is pretty cool. All right, so let's go back to our chatbot and then try to complete our conversation. So what I want to do is, because we created this email entity, now instead of saying that we are looking for text, I am going to say that we are looking for email, and we don't need this validation, this reaction anymore. But what I want to do is, actually, I will do it in a second. I just want to show you what happens. So by just changing this, I can say, contact us. What's your name? Sebastian. And my email is seba@gmail.com. And you can see the chatbot understood that this is the email we're looking for, which is pretty cool. But since this is a lead generation site, we should probably try to validate this email. So I can actually do reaction validation and then use a custom webhook. So in this case, I have this API, which is not really a real API, but it's just for the fun of it. But it can validate whether this is an existing or email that kind of exists. So I can say, okay, I want to get the information from this endpoint, and I'll just show you. Basically, this is how I call it. So I can provide the email as part of the body, and then this will respond with a valid, which is either true or false. So if I change it to blah.com, this actually says valid false. Okay, so let's try to do that. So this is a, what was it? We need to make it, the method is a post. And additionally, as part of the payload, I'm going to pass email. And now, by using the handlebar notation, I'm basically embedding the email value that we're capturing in here. Okay, so that's one thing that we are doing. And then finally, I say, okay, I am interested specifically in the valid property. So now the condition is where equals response, so that's the object we are going to get, is true. And in this case, I should be able to do our validation. Yeah, we can do invalid email. Okay, let's try that. Contact us. What's your name? Seba. Email, seba@blah.com. So you see, this is a valid email when it comes to syntax, but my validation refused that. So maybe I can say vitalez@progress.com, and that didn't work either. Curious. Maybe I didn't need to do this. Response. Okay, let's try one more time. Contact us. This is the challenge of doing live demos. So seba@gmail.com. Now it accepted it. Perfect. So that works fine. So like the validation actually accepted this specific email. All right, cool. So once we have the, basically right now we have name, we have email. So we should probably ask a couple of other questions. So I'm going to find the right place. So potentially we could ask for a step question, and we'll ask for which product these people are interested in it. So I can say product, and that's going to be of type product. And I can say which product are you interested in? And I could just very quickly do display type quick reply. And that will already allow me to display a list of available products. So seba@gmail.com, and we have the available product, and we can choose from one of those, which is pretty cool. Okay, so once we have product, we could ask for things like what's your company name, but maybe we can ask for company size. So I can say company size, and this time we are looking for a number, and I can say how big is your, or how many employees work at your company. So that could be one, and then another question basically is gonna be about your country. So I can say, again, country, and I can say which country are you based in? Okay, and this time I am going to use another type of display. So this is a single select, so I wanna display all the available values as like a little list picker. So I want to provide the data, so I will basically make the query to over here. So the endpoint, we are going to query just that one place. So just to maybe save the time, what I want to do is maybe this. So I'll just paste a ready-made query. So basically the idea is I'm gonna get the data from here, and I want to display as a title the name field, as a subtitle the native name, and then as an image display the flag, and then have the select button to choose the individual country. And now when I run this, we should have 2 extra questions. So Sebastian, yeah, progress.com, that should be fine. Yeah, native chat is fun. How many employees work at your company? 60. And then finally, I can go and choose one of the countries. So I could either click one and select, or I can still just say maybe Denmark, and the chatbot will accept that. Okay, so basically, I just want to very quickly, because conscious of time, I want to copy and paste the last bits of our conversation, and I'll just take you over that. So what I can do is do this. There's another step of confirmation. So I'm going to ask, would you like to arrange a call? And I'm only ever going to ask this question when the company size is more than 99. So we want to automatically arrange a call with somebody if there are at least 100 or more. And then if the person said yes to this question, we can then redirect them to another conversation, which is called book demo. And then once this whole process is finished, I'm going to call a webhook. So basically calling like our API, and then just passing like the name, product, company size, country. So that also goes into our lead database. So let me save this, and I'll show you how this whole process works. So I will do it twice. First for a small company. So let's say, hi, contact us. So what's my name? Sebastian. Sebi@hotmail.com. I really don't have that email, but let's say I'm going to go with Fiedler, 50 employees. And at that point, yeah, let's say France. Okay, and then basically what happened, because the company was below 99, we just executed this query and then sent this whole record into our backend by calling the Contact Us API. However, if I do Contact Us now and say Sebastian and say progress.com, yeah, I want to learn about native chat. How many employees? 2,000. Country, yeah, let's say France again, whatever. Would you like to arrange a call? And in this case, when I say yes, you actually take me to this separate conversation, which is connected to Calendly to my own calendar. So I can say, well, I want to meet somebody on Thursday. So, or I could just click on one of those. So yeah, and this grabs available slots on Thursday for me. So okay, let's go with 2 p.m. Would you like to share some notes? Yeah, learn about lead gen chatbots. And at this point, the chat will give me an option to even change any of those values. So actually, I maybe not 2 p.m. I want to do it first thing in the morning because that's important. And then I can confirm. And this actually goes and executes the call and makes the booking of our session. So I could even go and probably go to my calendar, and you can see the session appeared strangely at 11, but that's, yeah, basically my calendar is still in a different country. That's what happens when you travel a lot. Cool, and then I can also basically take the same chatbot. So that's something I want to show you, and I can test it in, for example, in Messenger. So I can go and there's a special channel called Progress Native Chat, and if I put this proxy message over here, it basically redirects and starts this conversation. So I can say hi, and I say, what would you like to do? I'd like to contact you. What's your name? Sebastian. Yeah. And on and on and on. And this basically still works just like we were in the other chatbot. So let's say only 10, show countries, and that loads all the records. So let's say I'm in Brazil. And yeah, okay, Sebastian, we're going to be in touch. And just like that, I was able to take my chatbot and test it out in Messenger, and we could go on and deploy that. But conscious of time, I'm going to get back to my presentation and continue on. So if you like what you saw, you can learn more about chatbots in general and like learn about natural language processing, because that's dictates how chatbots understand what kind of things we do, and also some tips and tricks on getting chatbots to understand you better. If you'd like to learn how to build a chatbot, then I recommend going to the first tutorial, because that gives you a comprehensive overview of building chatbots, especially for web. However, if you'd like to build a chatbot that runs on WhatsApp or inside or based on SMS messages, then I would also recommend going and checking those links. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk to you about is the native chat pilot program. So in case if you are wondering, how do I even get myself started and how I could potentially do all those things, we have a special pilot program. So if you go to this link and register yourself, you could then join one of our basically free program, and which runs in 3 phases. So in phase 1 is requirements gathering. So we meet with you a few times to figure out what is it that would be best use of our time and how to build our chatbot. Then we go on and actually work side by side with you to build the chatbot for you. And then finally, there is a sign-off phase. So with requirements gathering, we will look at the conversation scripts. So we'll look at the type of, we'll probably pick 1 or 2 conversations, step-by-step conversations that potentially would be beneficial to you. We'll look at and pick deployment targets. So should we build a chatbot for WhatsApp, or should we do it for Alexa or for web? it will be entirely up to you. We'll also go over a list of question and answers, so those like one question, one answer type conversations, and look at the acceptance criteria. So like what would be a successful basically pilot program, and then we'll gather all of that into a pilot flow agreement document. Once we have the pilot flow agreement document, we'll spend time with you building the actual chatbot. So we'll provide you with training. We'll spend about 2 days of pair programming, and they're not necessarily 2 days, but probably like 4 half-a-days. We'll then spend a day with you on deployment, and probably half a day on refining the question and answers. And as a result, this should be enough for you to have a complete chatbot that is ready to use. And once you have that complete chatbot, we'll go on and work with you together to do a demo to your stakeholders, plan the next steps. We'll definitely ask you for feedback because this is really important to us. And we'll end the pilot program. However, ending this pilot program probably means that we'll help you out, like actually get started on like a proper project, but that's only if everything goes on and is successful. So just one more time to recap, if you're interested in the pilot program, this is the place to go to. And also I will definitely encourage you to go and check out our tutorial, which basically teaches you how to build a chatbot for a car rental company.